With Straightsmile Solutions, straightsmilesolutions.com, and today we're going to talk more about dentistry side hustles or non-clinical ways to make money for dentists. And we can extrapolate this a little bit more into maybe hygienists or people in the dental profession, although the money or the values that I tell you, that I'm going to be super transparent with you in terms of what I made off these things and what I spent to get them going. Some of them I would definitely do things differently if I had to do it again. A lot of what I had to do was trial and error. When I first launched my business, well, I rebranded. I was doing it starting in like 2011. I started doing aligner consulting, but it was more like word of mouth. I think I had a really janky website, like maybe built on Wix or something. I don't even remember, but it was certainly not an e-commerce site. Goodness, I'm thinking of so many more. I had 5, and now that I'm thinking, I'll even give you guys more than 5. And I'll explain the pros and cons from my point of view. Just remember, I'm not an accountant and I'm not an attorney. So what I'm telling you may not be the truth. So don't take this is my understanding. So you need to consult with your own accountant and your own attorney before you doing this. We are extending, we've always given like free consulting to our clients, those that are concierge and VIPs. If they have questions about starting side hustles, it's always been complimentary. But if we're starting to get de novo questions, like how can I build an e-commerce site like yours? Now, if you are an orthodontist looking to copy my site, that's not happening. I am considering franchising and perhaps bringing in additional orthodontists. I already have 2 who are interested. I've already kind of have on my team, and they will be, if and when I get sick, injured, or something like that, or decide to sell, they'll be the first people. Or if I get to the point where I cannot handle the volume that I have, I will definitely bring them on. But if you're interested, you're welcome to give us your CV and we will bring you on. But that's not what this is about. So yeah, no, I'm not going to help you if you're looking to copy my business model. That's not happening. But if you're looking to do something else, we do offer consulting. Hourly rate is $900 an hour. You pay up front. We bill you billable minutes, etc. Whether that's emails, research, or phone calls. So normally we recommend having at least 4 to 6 hours up front, but bare minimum would be a 1 hour. Anyways, but that's not what this is about. I'm just gonna give you a ton of free information. And if you want to create a non-clinical, when I mean non-clinical, I mean like not sitting in a chair in an office, stuff you can do on your own time. Maybe you want to work 3 days a week and do something when your kids are napping or at school and you don't want to be in the office. Maybe you're going on leave or medical leave and you want to be making some more money. So I'll kind of take you through, like I said, this is the top 5 I thought of, and now all these other ones are coming into my head. So let me tell you a little bit more about why I started doing what I'm doing. And those of you who have met me in person, you probably know this story. I'm pretty transparent. I pretty much build it into most of my lectures. But part of the reason that I decided to go non-clinical was to have more time with my kids. I mean, true honesty, when they were 4 and 7, I had it, like orthodontics was changing. It was totally different profession than when I first graduated. Way more competition in the areas I wanted to be in. Yeah, sure, I could have gone to Oklahoma in a small town and probably done very, very well, but that wasn't something that was possible for our family given where we needed to be. So every place that I would potentially be where there was family was so saturated. It wasn't, and then it was. So let's do it that way. It wasn't worth it. I mean, the amount we were spending on nannies and daycare and everything, and it was to a point where we were barely making profit, the 2 of us, and nobody was happy, and we weren't happy with the way the kids were being raised. I mean, you can only outsource good parenting so much. And I know a lot of you are using daycare and nannies, and hey, good for you. If it's working for you, that's wonderful. It wasn't working for us. I don't regret stepping away at all, not 1 cent. Yes, there are times when my husband gets a little sad and he goes, gosh, if you had multiple orthodontic offices, we could be making $1 million per year off that. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry that I'm not, but I'm doing okay. I hold my own. I contribute to the family. And I appreciate all of you for supporting my little side business. Ultimately, it was the best thing I ever did. We ended up moving back to Hawaii, where my husband is from, where there was more family. where we could be directly involved in the way our kids were being raised, where there were better schools or cheaper schools, at least initially while they were in grade school. And even private school is a fraction of the cost in Hawaii than it is anywhere in California, where we were from. Like, it's like so well endowed, like little secret, so cheap, the private schools here, and they're great. We could send 2 kids to private school, private high school, for the price of half of one kid, in California. So that was definitely a value. Although Hawaii is not a cheap place to live, but it's a simple place to live. And for us, raising the kids in a simple way, almost like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where it's very family, you go over to friends' houses, you ride your bikes. I'm sure there's places in the US that are like that, but it's not like that where we were from in California. So anyways, that's why we did what we did. But I still loved orthodontics, and I wasn't ready to give it up like some of my classmates I know did, or some of my dental school classmates that completely gave it up to become stay-at-home moms. That is not what I wanted. I loved orthodontics. I love it. So, and I always considered definitely going back to it. So I ended up in 2014 coming on full-time, and this was my first official full-time side hustle that I could do from home with SmileDirectClub. I was one of the doctors that helped start the company. Yes, it's now a multi-billion-dollar company. No, I probably didn't sign the right paperwork because I'm obviously if I had profited the way I probably could have or should have, I would not be working right now. But I don't regret it. Live and learn. I learned so much. It was so fun. I literally, after 2 years with them, I caught the bug of entrepreneur bug. I learned a lot about what to do. It was like going to business school, literally. For me, it was like getting an MBA. The amount that I learned, I asked a lot of questions, social media, marketing, and I could extrapolate what I learned from them to my own business later. I had to create a business that was not at all competing with them, because I had to non-compete for a given amount of time. So I couldn't do anything in the making a liner world, but I could do orthodontic consulting. So I started off helping dentists, with their braces and their phase 1 treatment plans. And later I could start doing, more Invisalign and things like that down the road once that non-compete was over. And I started creating educational platforms and ways to educate dentists on how to implement and launch orthodontics in their practice and how to do it right, basically. So that's how that started. And the whole point behind my company, Straightsmile Solutions, is that it was totally non-biased. That was my whole point. I'm not going to be biased with any particular company. If you want to use this brand of aligners, wonderful. You want to use this brand of indirect bonding system, that's wonderful. You want to use this lab, that's wonderful. I don't really care. Use whatever you want. If you don't know what you want, I'm glad to give you some suggestions on which ones have been working best or which ones are most affordable, which ones will work better from that case. But yeah, that's how that works. One thing I'm really good at, and this is, again, I might be an introverted extrovert in that, and you need to know your personality, because it really takes a special personality to be able to pull off an entrepreneurial side hustle successfully. You have to be like type A to the max. You have to be super driven. You can be an introvert, but you have to be an extroverted introvert. You have to be willing to get out there, to hustle, to meet people, to go to shows and meetings and conventions and network. I started, honestly, my networking on LinkedIn in about 2014 is when I really got active on LinkedIn. And it was kind of a new thing then. Now I have almost 25,000 followers on LinkedIn. I post regularly, super interactive. I've met some of my best friends in dentistry off LinkedIn. And then later I end up meeting a lot of them in person. It's so awesome. I mean, it's like almost like dating profile. I mean, you're not dating them, right? But you're making friends virtually and then you're meeting them in person. And a lot of them are amazing and some are jerks, but and these are people that I now refer to regularly and they refer to me, and then there's no compensation. It's just, I know these people are good people. They will, if I need someone to help my doctor with setting up a website or marketing, or culture or branding or scheduling, or endo, I mean, it's not even anything I do or want to do. I know who that person is. I've got my guy in every single thing, or my girl, my person. I've got my person, my they, my she, my he. And I can give you someone I 100% trust. And that's the best part about networking. So, okay. So anyways, that's kind of how I got started doing what I do. I've made a zillion mistakes. I've spent a ton of money I shouldn't have in places I shouldn't have. So this video will give you some tips and you'll kind of know, is this a good fit for you? Is this something you want to do? It can get a little bit lonely at times. I mean, there's a lot of people who do dentistry side hustles, and it's all in person, and that's great. For me, I was thankful that mine wasn't, because during COVID, I was still able to, although I lost a lot of business because a lot of my doctors were scaling back and had to cut expenses, and I had to be respectful to that, I don't charge subscription, like I have subscription model, but you can cancel with a month's notice. I mean, you're not locked into anything. That's the main thing. You don't want to be locked in. You have to give away a lot of free stuff and let people sample stuff in order for them to know you're a good fit. So be prepared. You can't come greedy and expecting to make, you will not make money from day one. I mean, it took me, 6 months to actually start being profitable. And that's after I spent at least $100,000 of my own money. I did not take a business loan off. This was just savings that I had, from when I was working. And it was hecka scary. That's all I got to tell you. It was hecka scary. I ended up initially, after SmileDirectClub, doing a lot of KOL work, with existing orthodontic companies, speaking engagements, business development, things that I kind of knew how to do from SmileDirectClub, things that weren't competing with SmileDirectClub at all. It was good and bad. I decided after doing that, I'll never ever do KOL work again. So I guess we're starting with KOL and speaking, because that's the way I started. It was good because it brought in security, and it was, money every month, which was good. But it was bad because I had to work whenever they said, whenever there was a team meeting, there was an exec team meeting, there was a board of directors meeting, there was, they needed me to be in this state to lecture on this product, or, whatever. I had to do a webinar, and it happened to be 3 a.m. my time because it was 3 p.m. in Europe or something like that. My time was not my own. That was the biggest issue. And also you will sign away a lot of rights. You will sign away a lot of non-competes, non-disparagement agreements. And the vast majority of people you work with are pretty jerky, to be honest, and they're going to be really nice to you, but later they're not going to be nice to you, when you're no longer of value to them. And getting out of these KOL agreements and breaking free from the shackles that came with some of them. Some people were nice, don't get me wrong, but a lot were not. Ended up costing me a lot of money in lawyers' fees and stuff. So I would never, ever, ever, ever do KOL ever again. Sorry. So if those of you who are interested, I'm not interested. So pass. I only work for myself now. But I enjoyed speaking. I definitely got my speaking and lecturing skills up, my PowerPoint skills up. And it was really fun, Okay, so we started that. That's out for me, but it might be for you. So that's great, If you're just looking for a side hustle to do in terms of KOL, and you enjoy speaking and you don't mind being shackled to a particular product, then it's okay, and not being able to compete in that area, indefinitely or for a short term. Okay, and I know Invisalign pays their speakers very, very, very well. Never worked for them, never will. But they definitely hire a lot of general dentists, a lot of hygienists to do webinars and to go around and lecture and stuff like that. Okay. So let's start here. Expert web networks is something you can do very, very quickly and make a fair amount of income. It really depends on what type of dentistry you know. I get requests almost every day, if not multiple times a day, surveys. And most of them I don't take anymore. I used to take a lot of them. There's stuff, if you know implants, if you know ortho, if you know practice management software. It's usually involving tech, or things like that, or public companies, like our client is interested in investing in, this public company, which happens to be a dental, like a Dentsply or something like that. Are you familiar with their product? We want to interview you. So the way that you get in with expert networks, well, I didn't even know they existed, to be honest. I was, like I told you, I started being super active on LinkedIn, doing a lot of blogs, and they would find me. So, I can name some of the names, Ridgepoint, Guidepoint, Ridgeline, definitely GLG is a big one. GLG, Guidepoint, Ridgetop, that's another one. Alpha Sites, oh goodness, you can just Google expert networks. These are basically the way it'll work is that they will send you an invitation. They're going to vet quite a lot of people for that particular project. You set a price with the expert network. I'm assuming they're taking a certain amount off the top, well, no, you get what you get. So I'm assuming they're charging the client more, and they're taking 20, 30, 40% to set it up and to recruit. So I started off at $400 per hour with expert networks, and later I started raising it because it was just so much volume I was getting. And keep in mind that these expert networks, they're gonna bill you, prorate the hour. So if the phone call is only 10 minutes, the most the phone call will ever be is an hour. If the phone call is only 10 minutes, you're only gonna get 1/6 of that hour, or 1/6 of whatever you're paying for. So sometimes it wasn't worth it. Sometimes they are really, really short. So they just have a few questions. So for me, I think I charge between $700 and $900 an hour. So I don't get as many invitations just because it's annoying when they abbreviate it, and sometimes they no-show. So I start getting really, really strict with no-shows or last-minute cancellations. I now make it crystal clear that I do require 50% upfront if they cancel within 24 hours. But, you'll have to really get some leverage on that in order to be able to play that card. But yeah, I mean, it's a great way. If you know a product really well, if you know ortho, implants, perio, anything that's related to a public company, you can definitely get investors that will ask you clinical questions to know if that's the direction they want to head in. So I enjoy it. I mean, it was really scary for me at first. Things you have to have a really good internet connection. You have to have a really good phone. You need to schedule a time when you're going to be in a very quiet room. You can't be in the car. You can't have kids around. Like, that's unprofessional. So I would only schedule it at times when nobody was home, when I could close a door and really focus on what I'm telling them. Because if they're going to give you a bad rating because you did a bad conversation, you're not going to get hired again, right? But it's a great way to make a couple thousand extra per month. Some of them will pay you in gift cards like Amazon. Some will pay you in cash. I mean, regardless, you're still going to have to pay capital gains. This is a 1099. You will get a 1099. So you need, and I don't think I understood that initially. The first, because I ended up having to pay a ton of taxes at the end of the year because I don't know what I was thinking. I was getting gift cards to Amazon, and I didn't realize that they were still going to send me a 1099 for those gift cards. But that's a good idea, expert networks. You could definitely reach out to them and send your CV. It'll just take time, to build it up. But nothing wrong with that. You could probably do this super, super fast. Number 2, monetize a clinical YouTube channel. Plenty of dentists doing that. You can look it up, you can look up an ortho procedure or a dental procedure, and there's tons of stuff. I mean, you got to keep in mind, if you are filming patients, you have to be very, very careful. You have to have the right paperwork signed for social media and release and things like that. I generally do not, for that reason, I don't film patients, even if I had access to them, because it's too much trouble. I just talk about subjects. It will take a very, very long time for you to build a YouTube channel before you can actually monetize it, okay? I've had my YouTube channel for 5-6 years. I only started to be able to monetize maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I'll tell you how much I make. You can look at my YouTube channel, which is Straightsmile Solutions. I have 11,000 followers. I mean, it's not bad but you guys, as a dentist I'm not trying to target consumers. That's the difference. I am targeting dentists who want to learn ortho. So my volume potential of followers is significantly smaller. Now, I'm not saying there aren't consumers that jump on and subscribe. They might, I don't know. I mean, I can't really tell sometimes from the questions if they're consumers or not. But maybe they want to learn. But I mean, I speak very high level when I talk, so you're not going to understand it most likely if you're a consumer. But yeah, I have over 7,000 videos to date. I have a lot of videos, but the reason I started was not to monetize it at all. That was just like gravy later. The reason I started it was to explain things better. Because, for my consulting company, sometimes like something will come up and I'll be like, hey, well, this is the situation. We have a Bolton discrepancy and we need to level the curve of SPE and we need to do absolute intrusion on the incisors and relative extrusion on the incisors, on the molars, and we need to develop anchorage, and here's the way I would use your long tie. I mean, if you don't know what I'm saying, some of these doctors are like, huh? What the hell are you saying? So that way, if they don't understand what I'm saying, if they're a noob and they don't understand what I'm saying, I can send them links where I'm like, every single keyword I just said is explained in simple English, or there's a demo, here's how we do the anchorage. I do it on a Typodon or something like that, or I show a photo of the appliance, or I show how to turn the appliance, here's the delivery instructions. So that's why I did it. I did it to make my consultancy company easier and easier to help my doctors with their questions, when they come up, and I get questions every day. Now it's super fun. I love, love, love my YouTube channel. It's the highlight of my day. Almost every day, if you look, I add a new one, or it's not a chore to me. It just comes when it comes. Whenever anyone asks me a question throughout the day, and I get thousands, hundreds, I don't know how many questions I get per day on various social channels, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, even my own clients, even just random doctors contact me, ask a question. If I don't already have a video made, I make one if I can, and I post it, that way their question is answered. And it saves me sometimes a phone call, especially if they're unpaid. And also I think of it this way, the whole new, basically 30s and unders, the younger your zillennials are, the way that they research things, they don't Google. They definitely don't look it up in an encyclopedia. They don't ask a neighbor, they don't ask Alexa. She's right next to me, so I got to watch out. They're going to look it up on YouTube. And if they want to know something on how to do something, they're going to look it up on YouTube. So the added bonus for me is that I have met so many more doctors who've ended up signing up for services, because they realize that I know what I'm talking about. So, but also for me, it was like, okay, ortho is just being taught so wrong. All the classes that were out there, I took them all. And that's how I even got started too, is I'd sit in on some of these ortho classes, and I'm not going to name them because I'm friends with a lot of people, and it was just not being taught right. It was not being taught the way I was taught. It was either just illogical, made no sense, biomechanically not sound, inconvenient, painful, clunky. I was like, there's so much better ways to do that. Let me teach you my way. And I knew that back when I was practicing full time, I was a darn good teacher. I was really, really good at taking a new assistant and showing them how to do things. I was patient, I was kind, I think I explained things well. So that's kind of why I started doing the YouTube channel. But it's been an added bonus now, because now I'm getting $300 a month, $10.99. I mean, but if you're really dynamic and your team's super fun, you could definitely get a lot more than that. But keep in mind, it costs money to make these videos. I mean, it doesn't cost me money to post them, but I mean, I'm making infographics. Sometimes I get things professionally edited. Unless you have the team that knows how to do that, knows how to video edit, knows how to, put graphics on there, make a thumbnail infographic, there's definitely plenty of teams that could totally handle this on their own, but you got to give them time to do that, throughout their day. If I spend 2 to 3 hours a day on social media, dentistry related, not my own personal social media, creating content, they need to have time. That means you're going to be paying them to do that. So, you're probably going to spend more money than you get back. So, but there's other values, there's definitely plenty of dentists I know that are posting a lot of clinical stuff, but they're doing it to attract and educate their patients. And then they'll also backlink it to their website. So that's an added bonus. And I obviously do that a lot on my website. If you go to my website, you're going to see it's backlinked quite a lot. Here's this, I explain this. Now here's a video that explains it. And then next. So it actually is going to help to feed and optimize your website as well, which is an added win, right? And you could also connect your YouTube channel and the various videos to your various social medias too. So it's all a big circle. So that's the benefit. But yeah, this is probably the least profitable. I mean, I know a few dentists who make it very profitable, but I know that they also are paying their staff and their own, whoever's doing it, a lot of money. So they're probably not profiting in the long run, besides the referrals. If this is for me, I mean, basically 1 year ago today, 6 months ago, I completely canceled all my paid marketing. There's no more paid marketing. I don't do Facebook ads. Occasionally I boost a post, like if I'm very, very rarely. But for the most part, I do not have an advertising budget anymore. Don't need to, because why? My YouTube channel just does it all for me. So, but yes, I spend money sometimes to have my videos and my content edited. Maybe I do a blog or something like that, and I pay someone to professionally edit it or something like that. I'm a decent writer, but I don't want to make a ton of grammar mistakes and stuff like that. So, and definitely infographics. That's not something I enjoy making. I don't like doing graphic design. You can do it pretty easily on Canva. And I mean, my kids are amazing at it. They do this stuff in school all the time. I could probably pay them to do it for me, but they don't have time. They're crazy busy. So yeah, this will not be very productive, but it'll have added benefits to your practice. But if you're really considering, like me, stepping fully away from clinical dentistry, I don't recommend doing this unless it's a labor of love like it is for me. Okay. Next one, number 3, clinical consulting. This is what I kind of described to you. again, it took me many, many years to get that to be profitable and productive. And now that I no longer have to market or do advertising, it's good. You know, it pretty much runs itself. I get a lot of word of mouth referrals. People pretty much find me, but also if you search like help me with my Clin Check or something like that, or phase 1 education, I come up first now in Google. So it took me a really, really long time to be able to come up first. You know, it's a lot of content and it's a lot of work, and I do pay for my SEO and stuff. So that is clearly happening. But clinical consulting will take time to be profitable. I mean, you can check out the prices that I have on my website. I'm always raising them, you know, just because A, I can, and B, I don't raise them for anyone that's a long-term subscriber. So if you keep your membership, your subscription to our consulting company active, never cancel, never pause, we never raise your rates. So I've got people that are paying half of what I'm charging now, you know, and those are locked in from 5 years ago, and good for them. So, you know, it's a way for me to reward loyalty. So that's why it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, this can be profitable. It's also demanding, and people expect a lot from you. And sometimes, you know, it's a holiday, but yet I've got all these questions and things like that. I mean, definitely the most profitable clinical consultants are those that are super type A, very responsive. And sometimes I have to get up and I want to sleep and I can't, you know, on a Saturday. So, okay, another one, number 4, recruiting for DSOs. This is the one I like least, and I pretty much stopped doing it. I mean, I will do it, and I've definitely done it before. But the reason why I have a hard time with this is that there's so much that goes into recruiting and actually onboarding a doctor, and a lot of things can fall through, right? You know, whether it's the offer, whether it's the opportunity, whether they come and interview in person and they don't like the staff or the team or the manager. So I can hand you, you know, a lead on a silver platter. That part is easy for me. I can hand you leads, you know, but if they don't close it, you know, then I'm good. That's not going to work out if the opportunity isn't good. So now I'm very, very selective. So I ended up spending so much time doing recruiting and having it never pan out. I think one time I had it pan out and I got $8,000 for a lead that actually got hired, you know, but the amount of effort that I put into it was definitely not worth it. But I mean, if you have a really robust LinkedIn profile with a lot of people in dentistry, be it dentists, dental hygienists and stuff like that, it's pretty easy for me to find somebody. But you do have to have a premium LinkedIn account, which does cost money, you know. But I mean, I do this for people I know and trust. So if there's, you know, and obviously for my husband's offices, I do that for free. But you know, if there's someone I've met that I trust, and I trust that the opportunity is good, I need to know the opportunity first, which often means I need to see it. I need to go there. I need to be able to speak freely about it, because if you don't understand the opportunity, they're going to be like, why is this person recruiting heavily and they don't even understand it? You know, like, who is your assistant? How many chairs will you have? What will the scheduling be like? You know, it has to be something I understand. So, and for the most part, I only recruit orthodontists because I understand ortho. So, and what that opportunity looks like. But yeah, definitely done it. Well, actually, I probably had more than one happen. Some I was unpaid. Sometimes I just did it for friends. But definitely, I mean, I don't find that very profitable, but if you enjoy doing recruiting, I mean, that's cool. Especially with Indeed and all those other ones out there. I mean, I don't think it's quite as necessary to be a dental headhunter anymore. But yeah, I mean, these are just 5 dentistry side hustles that you can get started with. I mean, I love the idea of being able to have clinical dentistry. I can always go back and do clinical dentistry again. It's there if I want to do it, you know. But I love the idea of, I love right now, you know, especially since my kids are athletes and they're both going out for Division I college and they're constantly traveling, you know. We're going through Division I recruiting with my son right now, and we're on the go all the time, whether it's junior nationals or going to go visit this college or meet this coach or whatever. There's no way I could do what I was doing if I had an office. I mean, you can't just drop things at a drop of a hat and jump a plane, you know, because you're booked in ortho 6 months out. You know, it's going to totally tank your practice. It's not possible. You know, it's terrible business. So I'm thankful that my work can come with me, you know. Only tricky part for me is the way that I built my consulting, which is it definitely helps in that it's what doctors want when it comes with clinical consulting, but I do guarantee an answer within 24 hours for our concierge and VIP. So it can be very, very tricky. I hadn't thought about this, you know, like for example, I'm going to Europe this December for a week. I have to choose airlines that have Wi-Fi now because I have to be able to work on the plane. I have to, you know, it's not possible. Or I have to build a stopover in so I can sit for 6 hours and catch up on stuff because that is what they're paying for. And I promised them 7 days a week, 365 days a year that they will get an answer same day within 24 hours. So that was my promise. That's how I built my brand. That's what distinguishes my consultancy company from everyone else. But on the flip side, I'm never free. I don't know that there's ever a day except for maybe Christmas that, you know, where I don't get questions coming in, you know, and it can get a little frustrating. I mean, one time we were flying from Honolulu to, I don't know where we're going, someplace on the East Coast. I ended up flying a carrier. I didn't know it didn't have Wi-Fi. So I was on the go for 12, 14, 15 hours. By the time I landed, I was exhausted, you know, I wanted to sleep. But I couldn't because I had 6 hours of work less to do. So I basically was up for almost 30 hours, you know, and it was exhausting. The travel is tough. So now I have to spend more money on airfare. I basically have to be able to either sleep on the plane and work when I land, which means you have to pay for, you know, flatbed seats and stuff like that. Or I have to pick a carrier where I know that this aircraft has Wi-Fi, you know, and good Wi-Fi. So, it definitely adds to my expenses, you know, for travel, but it is what it is. So just things to keep in mind. Alrighty. And you know, you have to have like amazing internet at home. That's, I mean, you can never, I have several phones so that they all have hotspots because when internet goes down or you know, you're traveling and you can't, if you're doing clinical, I have to add, if you're going to do clinical consulting and there's, you know, you have to get insurance too. You know, you have to. I mean, you have to get HIPAA insurance and this insurance and that insurance and cyber insurance. And, you know, of course, not to mention your basic liability slip and fall. But, you know, if you're traveling or something like that, or somebody's meeting with you in person. But, yeah, I mean, you have to get insurance because and you have to be super careful about HIPAA, you know, how things are done, no regular emails, you know, you have to pick a platform where you can do HIPAA compliant communication off email. So, I mean, keep that in mind. You're going to be spending at least $5,000 per year on insurance, at least. I mean, and it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing more in-person stuff, it's going to be a lot more than that. You know, and that's an additional expense. And it doesn't matter if you have a small business that hasn't grown yet or a big business. That's a hard pill to swallow when you first start. You know, you can't be doing this and just trusting nobody's going to come after you because people do come after you. So be prepared. And the more successful you are, the more people are going to come after you. So, you know, and you need to have an attorney to help you set up your you know, terms of service, definitely, and be prepared. I mean, people will come after you. I mean, I have an attorney on retainer now to handle the bullshit that comes my way, because bullshit does come my way regularly. Less now that I'm not doing this anymore, but bullshit comes my way, you know, and I'm not going to go into that, but there's a lot of a-holes out there. So be it doctors, be it companies, you know, someone doesn't like what I posted, this company's trying to sue me. I mean, it happens. So, I mean, the more successful you are, the more people follow you, the more you're going to spend on attorney fees. So, but, you know, attorneys comes with a thing. I mean, be prepared. And this is not your regular attorney for your family. This is a business attorney. So, you know, dot your I's, cross your T's. I mean, my suggestion is that you do not really do a clinical side hustle unless you're ready to go all in, because it's probably not going to be profitable enough, you know, when it's all said and done, because it takes money to make money in terms of this. All right. Hope I inspired you. I think there's still plenty of opportunities out there. And for anyone that is getting burnt out in dentistry, you know, before the only option non-clinical really was to work in a dental school. And that wasn't really something I wanted to do. I don't like the bureaucracy of a dental school. I always wanted to work for myself. So, all right. Hopefully that's helpful. Thank you.